Coming in on today's Locked On Senators NHL Draft Rankings at number 36, we're going to the dub from the Kamloops Blazers. It's winger Nathan Behm.
Yep, Nathan Behm, a bright spot in a tough year for the Kamloops Blazers, who, if you know anything about junior hockey, the junior hockey the way they operate is in cycles. Do you think you have a chance at going for the Mem Cup, or are you hosting Mem Cup? Go all in, mortgage the future, don't have a draft pick for the next 10 years. Go for it, and then you're bad for a couple of years. Well, the Kamloops Blazers did just that, but Nathan Behm is a bright spot, like I mentioned, in 59 games, 31 goals, 35 assists, 66 points in 59 games. Finished to -12, and obviously the Blazers did not make the playoffs, so that was the end of his season. But when you finish above a point per game on a bad team, Ross, you had your man, in my opinion.
Yes, to an extent. Now, he just had such a roller coaster of a year, and I can appreciate the fact that he wasn't on a good team, but I would have liked to seen the excelling happen gradually, and building throughout the year would have given me a little bit more confidence. It felt like because he came out with his stick on fire, and then it kind of dropped off and tapered off as things get tighter down the stretch. To me, that's a little bit of a worry. Now, this guy's got pedigree. He's a first-round pick into the WHL, 13th overall in the 2022 draft. So it's not like he doesn't already have the history of being a great player wherever he plays, but it's just you'd like to see a little bit more. I would also have loved to see him play on that Kamloops Blazers team in 2022, the year he got drafted, where they had Olin Zellweger. They had a lot of talented players, and you got more to work with at that point. Nathan Behm finished second on his team in scoring with 66 points in 59 games. He was a -23, but did score 31 goals. He stands 6'2", 192 pounds. He turned 18 in April. He's a right shot, right wing, and comes in with an average rank of 39.8. Highest on Elite Prospects list that had him at 32. McKean's at 34. Craig Button at 44. Bob McKenzie at 40. And Scott Wheeler at 49. Pilsy, if you're an NHL team looking at Nathan Behm, what conversations would you be having about why you should draft this player?
Well, let's talk about the point streakiness, Ross, because that's a big part of his story. He had 10 points in his first 6 games. He was on pace to hit 115 points at one point this season, but he really slowed down in the middle of the season. But I think it's a little bit exaggerated just because of how hot his start was. Like, looking through his game logs and just kind of scanning quickly, looking for double zeros, goals, and assists, there's really only one period in late November through mid-December, which I get is quite a bit of a stretch. But if you were to take out those, I don't know, 10, 11 games, the rest of the year at the start and at the end, he was fairly consistent. But when you have a dry spell that lasts that long, it's really going to deflate your balloon, so to speak. So the consistency certainly is an issue. But talking about why you would want to draft this guy, still finished 7 points above a point per game. So still good, dual threat shooter and passer. And he's one of those guys that you can see when the puck gets on his stick, he gets a bit of a boost. He picks things up a notch. He puts it into another gear. He can pull off some nice moves too. He was a big part of Kamloops Blazers power play, which, despite having a bad year, they finished their power play at a 25% success rate. So they're able to put up points, maybe just not able to do it even strength or keep pucks out of the back of their own net. And he did double his points from last season, more than double. He only had 31 points last season, and that was in more games, in 9 more games he played last year. He scored 31 goals this year. He had 31 points last year. So there is offensive talent here, and I think he's a good player. I would be interested to see what he could do if Kamloops improves, which I'm sure they're looking to do, or if he ends up being a trade chip that they're going to try to recoup assets and get going in the draft again here. I'm not sure what kind of their plan is as far as where they are in their cycle.
Yeah, I always feel for players that come into those types of situations where the team has pushed all their chips in the year before.
Yeah.
Because this is second full season in the WHL, and he's a minus 56 in those 2 seasons. Like, that's got to weigh on you mentally. And I just wanted to go back to you saying that he picks up speed when he gets the puck on his stick. That's great when you have the puck, but I'd like to see that same effort and compete when you don't have it, when you're back checking, when you're covering the point and getting out and pressuring. Because I don't know if this skill set, it could be, but I don't know if this skill set is going to scream top 6 NHLer. I would say it's far from guaranteed that. Like, guys, when we get into the mid-teens and higher, you know that they're likely going to play a top 6 role at the NHL level. If Nathan Behm is going to find different paths to the NHL, he's going to have to be as good away from the puck as he is when he has it on his stick. If he's going to, let's say, start on a third or a fourth line, he's going to have to find a role. All these guys can score in junior when you get to the best of the best. So I'm looking, if I'm a team that's spending a top half of the second round pick or a late first on him, I want assurances that the likelihood he plays in the NHL can rise even higher. I'm not going so far as saying boom or bust, but I do think that he's going to have to be in the right situation as it stands now if he's going to play the right role in the NHL.
Yeah, and that's fair. And that's essentially what Wheeler gets at. Wheeler says he doesn't scream top 6 and mentions that his work off puck play defensively and his competitiveness and physicality needs some work. But Ross, my rebuttal to that would be, look, he's got the size, 6'2", 192 pounds. And sorry, I lost my place here. Oh, yes. And you got to consider the fact that Nathan Behm played on a bad Kamloops Blazer team. Look, I know it doesn't sound good and it's not what you want to hear, but when you're on a bad team, Ross, it's a little bit hard to buy in defensively when you're like, well, we're getting shelled here 5-1. Like, I'm just going to try to get my cookies on the power play, or trying to make a comeback in game 42 of a year where we're already dead last and already statistically going to not make the playoffs. I'm probably not going to push on that back check and try to block that shot down a couple goals here. So again, that's not what you want to hear. You want to hear a kid being like, oh, no matter what the score is, he's putting it on the line, et cetera, which is easy to say sitting here in our basement podcast studios, Ross. But when you're out there and you're grinding and you're losing night after night, it can be tough to turn that switch on mentally and physically to play the extra defense. So that's why I kind of mentioned, I feel like it would be good to see him in either an improved Blazers team or on a team that's at the very least a middle team contending for a playoff spot. So I do take that into consideration when I look at Nathan Behm.
Yeah, and there's a world here where you'd like to see the consistency go up, but you also understand when you're getting shelled. I'm looking at the game logs right now, and I didn't quite get to the total number. Let's say it's around 22 games where he didn't have any points this season, and his team won 3 of those games and only 2 in regulation.
Yeah. But Ross, if we're going to look at the games where he's no points, while you're scrolling through that game log, tell me how many times you see him with multi-point games as well, right? Like, he's getting 2 goals a bunch of times, a goal and an assist. Like, so that's where the consistency thing, yeah, it's definitely something worth mentioning. But when he's hot, he's hot. When he's cold, he's cold.
3-20-1. Whereas the Kamloops Blazers record where Nathan Behm did not have a point, but there were also a number of games where he has 3 or more points. He had a game in December against Victoria where he had 6 points, 3 goals, 3 assists. So the skill is definitely there for Nathan Behm. I want to get that abundantly clear. Yep. But I just think this would be the highest of the range that I would be considering him. To me, he screams more like 40 to 45 overall.
Yep, that's fair. I think he's got good offensive talent. I can see him being a middle 6 player, Ross. I don't think he's going to be a team's crown jewel top prospect, right? Like, if you're a team that's really trying to stock the cupboard or take a home run swing, I don't think you're going to take a Nathan Behm just because it's kind of tough to project where his floor and where his ceiling is. But I've got him at 3.5 stars because I see the skill. I give him some slack being on a bad team, and he's a winger with size that can score goals. But for me, I don't think this is a guy the Sens should target. I don't think he's going to be in their range, and I think they need someone with a little bit more oomph skill-wise to make it worth their selection at 21.
Nathan Behm comes in at number 36 on the Locked On Senators NHL draft rankings with an average rank of 39.8.